Alright, and we're back. They're shuffling, getting ready for game 2. This is Dragon Duel's Champions, so yeah. I'm gonna throw it back to these guys, and yeah, I'm just gonna let the live commentary go through, and yeah. Let's get back to that. Oh, excuse me, I said the red player when it's actually the purple player. My bad. My bad. These guys are doing some weird stuff. They just cut out the sound and they're like talking and stuff. I heard them whispering. I believe it was the top person who actually won. I'm not entirely sure. But, yeah. So anyway, this is the top 8 right here. Looks like we have 3 in the top. I'm just going to go over things while these guys are shuffling. Now, they cut off the sound. Konami did, so... yeah. Yes, it was the red player who won. I believe that is... It doesn't show their names, but I believe it was him. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So, still shuffling, getting ready to go here. Apparently this guy's shuffling his deck. I don't know why this guy is shuffling his deck, but he is shuffling his deck.
Okay, getting ready for Duel 2
here
after they did their side decking and reshuffling.
And so
I do want to give out a little bit of information, also something of an announcement. For those of you who are taking careful notes so you can rebuild these decks and use them in your next competition, might want to hold back on that. The next Forbidden Unlimited list is coming out very soon. It will be published, I can tell you, on Tuesday, August 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's California time. That will be the new Forbidden Unlimited card list for North and South America, Europe, Oceania. And I can also tell you that that list will also be in effect, the new list, for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series event in Toronto, which will be August 31st and September 1st. Both days of the Toronto event will be using the new FNL list for the Americas, Europe, Oceania, which will go up on Tuesday the 20th.
There will also be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series on that same weekend in Europe. That will be played in sealed format using Battle Pack 2, however. So for the main event, the new FNL list is not relevant. However, at all public events throughout the weekend, also the new list will be used, not the old one anymore.
Alright, so we had a lot of action there in the first turn. A couple baby dragon rulers were played to summon their adult counterparts out of the deck, and Ben has Xyz summon number 11 Big Eye It's a dark monster with 2,600 attack points, and its ability is to detach Xyz materials to steal your opponent's monsters away from them. It's interesting that he should make that move on the first turn, because normally what that telegraphs is that the player has one of the virus trap cards set, either Eradicator Epidemic or Deck Devastation Virus. Eradicator Epidemic is normally used against spellbook decks, because you can strip an opponent's hand of all of their spells. And Deck Devastation is actually used more against Dragon Rulers to take out the cards like Effect Veiler or Max C and some of the babies before they can really make an impact on the duel. Now, they had a period of side decking going on. If I had to guess, I would say that Oliver is swapping out his Droll and Lockbirds for Swift Scarecrows to try to stop from being taken out in one turn, much like he did to Ben in the previous game.
So what would be the typical side deck strategies in Dragon Ruler Mirror Match?
Generally what you want to do is eliminate chances for your opponent to get you with a Crimson Blader. You want to maximize your chances to open up with your strong combos on the first turn. And in this case, if you're expecting a lot of dragons in your tournament, which these duelists clearly were, you don't make a whole lot of changes. If you're going second, you try to stop yourself from being overrun in one turn, which is why I think we might see a Swift Scarecrow. And if you can fight back... Oh, Vanity's Emptiness. Alright, well that's a bit unexpected. Big Eye and Vanity's Emptiness, what that'll allow is for... well, it stops... Vanity's Emptiness stops both players from special summoning while it's on the field. And if a card goes from Ben's field or deck to the graveyard, Vanity's Emptiness will self-destruct. The end result of that is that because he can't special summon, the only recourse left if Oliver wants to put a monster on the field is to set it, which leaves it prey to Big Eye.
Vanity's Emptiness is a card that wasn't seen a lot of before the recent format. It was originally released in Starstrike Blast, wasn't it?
Yep. There's a lot of cards of Starstrike Blast that are, making a bit of a comeback. So it looks like not a whole lot of action. Ben appears to attack with Big Eye, and there's not a whole lot that Oliver can do about it unless he gets a hold of a Mystical Space Typhoon. And if you know that your opponent is playing with Vanity's Emptiness, you might consider side decking in some Mystical Space Typhoons that normally you wouldn't have in your main deck.
And why is that? MST was played pretty much in all decks until recently. Why isn't it in the main deck anymore today?
It was, but the general trend of decks between the spellbooks and the Dragon Rulers is that they're more combo-oriented decks, and decks where you want to try to achieve a combo as quickly as possible, they don't really play a whole lot of traps, because you have to set traps and wait to use them, etc. So as traps began to fade out of the decks, so did Mystical Space Typhoon, and normally the only spell and trap removal you'll see right about now is Heavy Storm. Oliver is trying to dig through his deck with Sacred Sword of 7 Stars, which is a card that lets you banish a level 7 monster from your hand or field to draw 2 cards. And that'll let him refill his hand and get some searches off of Adult Dragon Ruler effects, but it's not going to help him out with his inability to summon any of those monsters. He's got a lot of cards in hand there. And he's going to set a monster to try and stave off Big Eye. So the disadvantage to the Big Eye Vanity's Emptiness play is that he can either attack with Big Eye or steal the monster and get a direct attack with that monster for probably a lot less damage than the Big Eye could do itself. Quick count shows he has 6 cards left in hand. Brief dance. Get the nerves out. Ben does not seem amused. He's going to swing in with the Big Eye and take out an Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler normally used for its ability to negate monster effects. When you play with Dragon Rulers, it's actually used as a tuner far more often than not. And that's about it. With Vanity's Emptiness in play, I think that's the third Sacred Sword of 7 stars, so it can't be said that Oliver's not trying to get out of this. He's drawing every card he can.
So while Oliver clearly dominated the first duel and won it very, very decisively, it looks like Ben has the advantage in this second duel.
Yep, and it's basically all off of Vanity's Emptiness. It's one of those cards like Royal Oppression or Thunder King Ryo, where you can do all of the things that that card prevents, special summoning, searching, etc., and then play that card to stop your opponent from doing the same back to you. It's an extremely powerful strategy, and it's paying off big time for Ben in this duel.
So in the end, this card is all about timing.
Yep, but it looks like Oliver got his Mystical Space Typhoon, and he's loaded up with all those dragons that he couldn't play before. So we'll see if he can make a comeback in this one. I'm going to start off with, looks like Reactin discarding Burner to get Redox. Check the graveyard. Pretty sure there's something in there that he can bring out. Banishing the same cards that he just discarded to get Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms, out of his graveyard. Now, is he going to go for more dragons or Xyz Summon now? That's something he's going to have to think long and hard about. It looks like he's going to go for the extra deck, though.
Is this another Dracossack situation, or will he go for a Big Eye himself?
I would not go for a Big Eye in this situation. You take your opponent's... Well, actually, there is something to be said for Big Eye in this scenario, because both of the materials are still on Leverett's Big Eye, so he doesn't run the risk we discussed earlier of having those dragons come back to bite him. In fact, that's particularly nasty because now Ben doesn't have those dragons at all, so he relies on what's left in his hand.
Yeah, Tomajko can just sit on that Big Eye, keep those Xyz materials locked down on it.
Seems good to me. I'm not quite certain what's happened there. I don't think he's attacking. He's summoning a dragon, then tributing his Big Eye, and the dragon that he just summoned to tribute summon, Blaster. That's not something you see a lot, but you usually do it when you don't want your monster to be stolen by an opposing Big Eye. And with that, he's got 3 more dragons on the field. And if I'm up, that would have been a win had it gone through, but it does look like Ben sided in some Swift Scarecrows. And in main phase 2, we're going to see a Dracossack. And now, all of a sudden, it looks like Ben is the one who's on the ropes here.
Yeah, that is quite a comeback from being locked out of playing all of his cards to having 2 huge Xyz monsters on the field, one that can't be destroyed because he's used its ability to summon the tokens, and Ben has an empty field on his side.
That is one of the disadvantages to relying on a card like Vanity's Emptiness or Royal Oppression, or in other cases, like the entire Evil Swarm deck is based around Evil Swarm Ophion. The problem with relying on one monster like that to lock your opponent out of playing is that if they do get rid of that monster, you're going to have a bad time. Now, it looks like Oliver has set a Speller Trap card. Normally, he's only got one of them in his deck. So that could either be the Treacherous Trapple that he main decks, or he could have sided in Vanity's Emptiness of his own, Deck Devastation Virus. One way or another, it's probably not going to be good when we see what that face-down card is. Ben's fighting back with a Dragon Ruler summon of his own, and it looks like Oliver has sent Max C to the graveyard from his hand, which means that for each special summon that Ben makes for the rest of this turn, Oliver's going to draw a card.
We have a result from the All Ages event. It looks like in the match of Wirapun Subyobol from Thailand versus Robert Boyajian from the USA. Subyobol from Thailand has defeated his opponent and will be advancing to the semifinals.
Meanwhile, it looks like we've got a Big Eye war in progress back here. Ben's gone ahead and summoned his own Big Eye. He hasn't activated its ability yet, though, so it may be that Oliver's face-down card is about to come into play.
Both players look very, very concentrated and confident. It's really impressive to see these young duelists play on this level.
And it looks like the face-down card was the Deck Devastation Virus. The Deck Devastation Virus, you tribute a monster that has 2,000 or more attack points and is dark. Big Eye fits both of those requirements. You get to look at all the cards in your opponent's hand and all of their face-down cards on the field and check for monsters that have 1,500 or less attack. All of them are destroyed. But wait, there's more. You also get to look at every card your opponent draws until the end of their third turn after the card was activated. And again, destroy any 1,500 attack or lower monsters that you find there. It's absolutely devastating, because the other condition of Big Eye is that if you use its effect, you can't attack with it. So Ben just gave up Big Eye's attack to take a monster that was tributed away to stop him from drawing any useful low-level monsters for the next 3 turns.
So that's basically most of the baby dragon rulers.
Yep, along with Effect Veiler, Max C, Swift Scarecrow, etc. So the Swift Scarecrow that saved him the first time around, even if he were to draw another one, it would be immediately destroyed. And we saw for a brief second that Ben's hand is 2 Super Rejuvenations. And that only works when you discard or tribute dragons, not when they're destroyed. So he wouldn't be able to get extra draws out of that. Quick check of the text of Deck Devastation Virus, because Oliver is not using an English copy of it.
That is one of the particular challenges of an international event like this, where you not only have cards with English text and, in case of the European players, German, Italian or French cards, but also with the Asian players, the Japanese cards. So on top of having our judge crew on the main stage, there's also translators available who can help out the duelists every time where there's a question about a card text.
It's no minor miracle that all of this stuff can really come together, but it's a testament to how hard all these people work and the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Really is an international game.
Yes, it is truly global, and there you can see it nowhere better than at the World Championship.
Well, now here's an interesting move. It looks like... Saying there, it looked like he discarded Redox for its ability to revive a monster. But then I'm looking at Big Eye and I see materials under it, so that is not what occurred. Ben is actually summoning back his previous dragons from the previous Big Eye to make a new one. Dragon Ruler matches can be really swingy like this. It'll look like one person just has no chance, but then, bam, they're back. Oh no. Sorry, I misviewed that. That pile of dragons over on the right is actually his banished cards. The Big Eye, Vanity's Emptiness, and the monster beneath it are in his graveyard. Sometimes it's difficult to tell when your banished cards pile gets to be about the same size as your deck.
Looks like Oliver is checking his graveyard.
We have another result from the All Ages event. At Table 1, we had Aaron Riker from the United States versus David Keener from the United States. David Keener has won that match and will be moving on. So David Keener defeats Aaron Riker.
All right. So, back in the action, Oliver just tributed his Mecha Beast Dracosac to destroy Ben's Redox. Redox has 3,000 defense, so there's no way Dracosac was getting through it alone. But by tributing the Dracosac and getting his dragons back in the graveyard, not only does he get around not being able to attack with that Dracosac, he can also summon the dragons back for an all-out offensive. Starting off with Redox. That one is in defense position, so it's probably going to be used as an Xyz material. It is Big Eye Wars all day here in the quarterfinal round. I think we've seen more Big Eyes change hands in this. Like, I hope they remember whose Big Eye it is when all this is said and done.
Especially since they're all using the same sleeves for this event.
Interesting side note on that, all of the decks actually were re-sleeved with fresh sleeves about an hour ago.
And that's it. After tributing the Big Eye back for another blaster, he was able to get his dragons back again and make one last offensive push to win the match. Oliver Tomajko wins his quarterfinal match over Ben Leverett, both from the United States, 2 duels to none.
All right, so Oliver Tomajko.
All right, the next round will begin in about 45 minutes from now.
Right on. I'm going to cut this one now. So the red player, Oliver Tomajko, he's the winner.